no one expected the Berlin Wall will fall before it really falls. Who can imagine Hong Kong under civil unrest 3 years ago?
As the rest of the world worries about the coronavirus, Hong Kong worries about its fragile liberties. Since early 2019, when the Hong Kong government proposed a new extradition law that would make it easier to arrest and deport people wanted outside the city, hundreds of thousands have taken to the streets in protest. At one point, a full quarter of the population of Hong Kong. But as China steps up its aggression, Hong Kongers are left wondering whether countries like the United States will step in to protect their autonomy. We spoke to two young activists about the future of their city. Wilfred Chan is a journalist and one of the founders of the Hong Kong news website, Lausan.
Hong Kong identity is a recent construction. Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China. It has never enjoyed its own autonomy since British colonialism began in 1842. In the 20th century, many Hong Kongers didn't view Hong Kong as a place per se. It was an intersection of different flows. It really hasn't been until these recent developments with increasing Chinese encroachment upon Hong Kongers' ways of life that you see this response in the form of a Hong Konger identity movement.
We face the rubber bullet, we face the tear gas, but we have not stepped backward.
Joshua Wong is perhaps the most recognizable face from Hong Kong's protest movement. Nominated for Time Person of the Year and even the Nobel Peace Prize, he's been arrested 8 times.
The long-term goal is to ask for free election. The mid-term goal is to ask to stop the police brutality. And the short-term goal is to withdraw the extradition bill that violate on human rights. And we successfully forced the government withdraw the evil bill on last September, which proved that most important is how Hong Kong people took to the street, show the power of people.
Beijing is trying to be nice. It's not because they're not deeply authoritarian. It's because they have way too much at stake economically in the city of Hong Kong. One country, two systems exists because China has a lot of restrictions on what its other cities can do. It has a lot of restrictions on what its corporations can do. They need Hong Kong as the intermediary to get to the outside world. We're talking just hundreds of billions of dollars tied up in Hong Kong accounts. People focus on the authoritarian aspects of Beijing, and they don't think from the perspective of elites in China as deeply invested in keeping the economic engine rolling.
Lots of Hong Kong people recognize that it's a must for us to seek for international community support around the world. In US politics, no one could imagine Ted Cruz and AOC make the joint statement together. But they did it last year. I think how to maximize bipartisan support around the world is also matter. Put pressure to Beijing.
A lot of Hong Kong folks are soliciting Western leaders for different kinds of assistance. In many ways, this assistance comes with a lot of strings attached. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act professes support for Hong Kong's democratic ambitions. At the same time, it's asking the U.S. Secretary of State to make sure that Hong Kong is abiding by U.S. Hong Kong extradition treaties. It requires Hong Kong to comply with U.S. sanctions against Iran. It asks Hong Kong to do all sorts of things which aren't in line at all with what the movement is asking for.
I think it's a must for the world to understand that Hong Kong is the battlefield of liberal value and authoritarian rule. We are really facing the threat of the military force from the People Liberation Army. Troops already moved to the border, and there's lots of discussion of will China send the troops to Hong Kong to let the second Tiananmen Square massacre happen again.
I think the meaning of democracy in Hong Kong is still being formulated. The reason why Hong Kongers are denied democracy, the reason why we have such an absurd political system is precisely to maintain Hong Kong's usefulness to the powers that be. Hong Kong is a pawn in the West and in Beijing. If we're going to talk about freedom, Hong Kongers can't do that by themselves. It really requires a rethinking at the global level of what conditions caused a Hong Kong to emerge in the first place and why people are now stuck in this situation and they can't get out.